Hello everyone, and welcome to my video again. And this time I'm doing it from my phone, so we should be experiencing less interruptions. I do apologize. I know the title is very catchy. Let's start with this. Food prices and strange times. Yes, because we are in very strange times. We are in times, I would like to say, we are living in a time here in Canada where, for the first time, finally, people are talking about food prices. Notice I'm changing the topic. Notice I'm introducing a new way of looking at this topic. I'm not saying how, oh, there's a food price crisis and let's talk about it. Oh, have you seen what's trending in the news? No. I'm saying that there has been a food price crisis for a long time. It's only just now gotten out of control. Previous to this video earlier today, as I was uploading, I noticed I kept having my internet mysteriously stop working anytime I tried to broach a sensitive topic. I was not swearing, I wasn't cursing. I don't do that in my regular day-to-day life. I noticed that anytime I tried to offer a critique of the current federal government's grocery rebate for families of two kids, within 1 second my internet dropped. And when I talked about how there's questionable ghee in India, that people were got into serious trouble. They faced like it was illegal, passing off ghee that was made from cow's milk when it was actually made from like vegetable oils and synthetic things like this. 10 seconds later, my internet dropped. And in fact, 2 hours spent trying to record videos, my internet was mysteriously interrupted. Just like that. I have had zero problems with my internet for the past 3 weeks. And we just got a new Wi-Fi router a week ago. The super high, powerful, high-speed one from Rogers. So I call BS on all this nonsense. It's time that we talked openly about what's really happening with food. It's been long assumed in Canada that it's going to cost more to distribute food from the States and from elsewhere. There is some truth to this, but what is not being talked about is there's kind of a grocery store monopoly in Canada. There's only a couple big key players. And I understand that the grocery stores themselves have to deal with suppliers jacking up prices. I understand. But at the end of the day, food is being treated as a commodity. Food is being treated based on an old concept that is now outdated of those who work get to eat, those who don't work don't eat. As a woman, I work all day, every day. I'm a housewife, I'm married, and even if I weren't married, there are many women in my city, province, and country who are working. It may not be monetized. We may not have a salary or a paycheck, but we are working. Whether the work is gardening, baking, cooking, pastoral counseling, listening, Reiki, therapeutic touch, massage, and a host of all other kinds of things that not just women, but people are doing on a daily basis to contribute and add to their community. I don't agree with this concept that those who do not work don't eat. I do understand where that narrow-based scarcity thinking comes from. You see, I'm going to do this video a little bit differently. I'm more calm this evening. As you can see, my eyes lids are a bit red. I'm a bit tired. I'm now going to go straight into how it's going to take a spiritual transformation. It's going to take left meeting right. In fact, it's going to take people leaving their suitcase behind at the airport. You know when your suitcase goes missing? You know when you lose your luggage? Yeah, we've got some luggage we need to drop, people. I'm going to say it like it is. I'm 49 years old. I'll be 50 in 3 months. Okay? I was in the gifted program when I was a young girl at school. It's an undisputed fact that my father spoke 5 languages, studied rocket science, worked as a manager in Transport Canada, and was an inspector of airports in numerous regions throughout Canada and the United States. And my mother is a highly talented, successful woman in her own way. Now, with that being established, I want to talk about why food security is such a big issue to me. I have been talking about this topic for decades. I have been talking about why rents are so ridiculously high for decades. Close to 1/3 of a century, people. That's right. I've been doing this activism since I was a young teenager. Why? Because I'm queer. I'm going to talk about it. Yes, we're going to talk about this subject. We're going to talk about how long before it became fashionable to say that a person is, oh, they have a complaint. They would like to see the manager. I got they'd a decade before any of you got they'd. Long time ago. It's just something I've had to live with. I'm a strong woman. I'm an alpha female. I consider myself a leader. And I'm going to lead long before people are going to follow. I'm not waiting to be followed. I'm leading. I'm starting to lead now. And I would like to lead a discussion with some prominent thinkers, philosophers, writers, and caring politicians who really care about this subject and who want to do something rather than just toss a pittance at charities that are overstretched and overburdened and can't even begin to address the problem of food security and food justice properly. For food justice and food security, we need to have people having access to foods they choose to eat. Gluten-free, kosher, halal, culturally appropriate. That the food is as local to them as possible. That people have access, whether renters, which most of us are in cities, or homeowners, or those who are renting a townhome and possibly have access to a small garden plot, unless it was paved over by landlords who, for whatever reason, don't want people growing in their backyard. So we need to talk about how people need to have access to land. They need to have the time, and growing food needs to be given a lot more respect in our society. And we need to move away from depending so much on importing food from the United States. And we need to change why food is getting a free ride and why food is traveling all over the world for what seems to be made to be pennies for airfare. I don't think it's appropriate that avocados or shrimp get practically a 10-cent plane ticket. Now, I know that sounds cartoony and kind of funny. You'll need to bear with me. I'm an artist. I think outside the box. Being an artist, I contribute very, very vital work to my community. You see that painting up there? That's my sister who did that. Many of us are artistic in my family, and I'm married to a professional artist. I want to create a new way of looking at this topic. I'm incorporating philosophy. I'm incorporating spirituality. I'm incorporating going beyond this whole political binary of left and right. Oh, good. We still are alive? We're still functioning? Great. Take a moment to breathe here. What does it mean when we say inflation? When I look at YouTube for videos about food prices and inflation, I'm given a kind of same stock set narrative. Oh, food prices have gone up due to inflation, and economists and financial experts advise and predict, don't expect the price of food to go down back to its original prices. I am going to call a spade, and I'm going to say that that's a spiel and that's a narrative. Food was already ridiculously overpriced decades ago. That's right. So, what are we not being told in the media? What are we not being told in the news? Well, let's look at what we can see. Let's look at the part of the iceberg that's sticking out of the water. When I was in my late teens and early 20s, when I tried to look for a part-time job and I tried to look for an apartment, the only option was to find subsidized housing, and the only option was for me to have gone into a liberal arts university program, and at the time my health didn't permit me to go to university. I was dealing with severe depression. As a consequence of dealing with severe depression, I wasn't able to access resources to be able to get the type of nutritious quality healing food that I would have needed for my health and well-being. And one problem compounded to another problem. And after the depression, it led to prolonged bed rest, which led to chronic pain, which led to back problems, which led to increased difficulty in accessing employment, and also difficulty in accessing post-secondary education. Thank goodness for Zoom now. At this time, I'm thinking of going back to school. I might go to university. I might go to do some more French language training. We'll see. The reason I am deciding to go back to school, despite all the obstacles in my life, is because I'm furious about this food insecurity narrative nonsense. I went to a symposium January 22nd in my city. I was hoping that we would actually start to lay the groundwork to create committees and do something to address food insecurity. And instead it was all talk about, oh, Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? Oh, let's just do some more gardening. Oh, well, if we garden, and I was treated to a slideshow of gardens. It's all good, but it's not even 1% of the solution. Because we're already gardening. The people that have a green thumb and want to garden are already gardening. And for those of you watching this internationally, welcome to Canada. It's extremely cold. Ottawa is the nation's capital here, and we have the second coldest national capital in the world. Okay, it's very cold here. So growing food, most of us live in big cities here in Canada. Most of us live in Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, Vancouver. Montreal is even colder than Ottawa. Ottawa is even colder than Toronto. Toronto, almost everyone is crammed in a high-rise apartment. How are they supposed to grow food? I guess they could grow a couple of tomatoes on their balcony if they have the luxury of a balcony. Or hydroponic gardening. That also has its complications and costs. Is it true that food at the store should be the price it is? I was in a grocery store when I saw a group of experts, very well dressed, like they were going on a tour with a tour guide, who was saying to the little group of experts, oh, see this celery? The reason that we price celery at our store is because a family of X number will use these many pieces of celery per recipe, and this celery will last 2 weeks. So it gives them this amount of food value. Therefore, we are justified in charging $4 for this celery, $4 Canadian. I was actually there. I was like 6 feet away from them or less. Okay? And this was in broad daylight. So I know with my own ears, it is not just based on supply chain or a war over here or a country there or a this and a that. It is as simple as they get this amount of value. They should be prepared to pay this. What will the market bear? So it's commodification of celery. Celery is very dear to my heart because when I was a young girl, my French-Canadian grandfather took me aside outside in his garden where he was growing tomatoes in a suburb in Quebec, and he said to me very calmly, Du céleri. And I began learning French, and he would teach me almost every weekend, and I took it seriously. So for me, celery has almost a, I don't know, it's almost a mascot, or I don't know. It's kind of like my totem vegetable, if you can have a totem vegetable like a totem animal. There are so many things that I could talk about with food security, but there are so many things that I don't want to say about food security and food insecurity. I'm not fond of the term food security. I think it's a fancy four-syllable way of saying starvation. That's right. That it's politically correct, glossed over, dressed up with beauty products on it, so that it's just more genteel to the ear. I think it's all a bunch of rubbish. My father was a very intellectual person. My mother was from a more, I don't know, upper working class family. Does that make sense? Or her father was a successful salesman of chocolates and soft drinks. So we could say he was working class, but he was like upper echelon working class, almost like a plumber or an electrician. But what I'm trying to say is, imagine if I was to talk to a construction worker or a truck driver about food insecurity. They may understand the term, they may be familiar with it, they may have a rough grasp of what it means. I don't even want to say they, because I'm talking to you, and you are my audience, and you are my people. It's more like that term food insecurity, or its opposite, which we're aiming towards, food security, is so theoretical. It's so la la land. It's so ivory tower and so vague and so just, meaningless, that, people hear this term food security, and it's more like, do those two words even go together? It's like if I say flower pot, you understand. Or I say clock tower, you understand those compound words. But here's two words that are a phrase that go together for academics: food security. Now picture that. I can't. Like, I have to say for myself, and I'm pretty well read. I don't have a university degree, but I'm common sense. Like, I look at that term food security, and we're going around saying 1 in 5 Canadians experiences food insecurity. Sometimes words are used to condense a lot of information, but they are so jargony, and they're used in such a specific way, and we're not really sure. So what does this mean? It means that if I go to my fridge and I open it, and I have 2 eggs instead of 3, and I have a bag of pancake mix, and it requires 3 eggs, I have food insecurity. But this seems to be a very convoluted way of expressing that I have food insecurity. Isn't it simpler to just say the cupboard's empty? Empty cupboard. Empty cupboard syndrome. Empty fridge. What about the concept that people are not worth even giving a bare minimum subsistence level of food? Just let this sink in. Women, 51% of the population in Canada, 52% in my city. Okay? And women's work is never done. And in this current economy, women have to work part-time, even full-time, even juggling 3 or 4 jobs or something even more ridiculous. Now let's keep in mind that these people doing all these jobs can barely pay their mortgage, barely pay their car payments, barely pay their gas for their car, barely pay their heating costs, which are almost the highest. Canada is really like, it's very, very cold here, very cold to live here. We're colder than Norway, even though Norway is more north. Okay, keep that in mind. So it is so cold here and it is so expensive to live. It surprises me that it took food prices going up so ridiculously high for the first time in 43 years, but they've always been high, like I'm saying. It's like the straw that broke the camel's back. I didn't I would hear some Canadians grumble about the rents and the mortgages, and a select few would be well read enough about hydro and gas to complain about that. But no, the issue that captured everyone's attention is food security. Would you know that 5 years ago I approached my member of parliament, I prefer to say federal representative, and asked her to bring about a discussion about food security in the House of Commons? It was ignored. I was ignored. I was just not even responded to. She just looked at me with a blank stare, like it was unimportant. I believe that food security is the top issue in Canada. If you don't have food, you don't have people working, you don't have people going to school, you don't have people volunteering. We're already very short of workers in our workforce, and you're going to entice immigrants to come here? Well, strange times we live in. It took the border crossing being closed for people seeking asylum. That's not illegal immigrants, people. That's irregular, irregular, irregular border crossing. And these are irregular seekers of either asylum or immigration. People that really want to work, people that would be, oh, don't even get me started on that topic. So I'm sure you're familiar with that Roxham crossing being closed. It took that crisis, and it took me casually saying to an acquaintance how ridiculous food prices were. The acquaintance said, oh, did you know that the CEOs of grocery stores are being, cross-examined right now, in Parliament Hill? I couldn't believe it. I was like, finally, finally, finally. Why would a society continue an exploitative, environmentally unsustainable food distribution system that punishes grocery store workers who are unionized? Yes, the union dues mean that they're back to earning less than minimum wage for doing backbreaking essential work and dealing with frustrated customers who are getting frustrated and bombarding them with questions about why prices have shot up 30-40% for some products. Now, they say inflation, 4%. So why is food gone up so much more than 4%? Every category, 11, 12, 15, 20%. Cat food and dog food went up over 103%. That's by one of the cheaper food companies. The more premium, expensive brands of pet food didn't go up even 1%. During the past 2 years of these difficult, strange times we've been in, a lot of food in the U.S., a lot of the meat that the farmers they couldn't sell it, and they thought twice about giving it away for free, but they decided to temporarily try to just give some of it for free to pet food companies who had so much of it they had to turn it away. So why is pet food not free, or at least drastically cheaper? Why is it 103% more? The numbers don't add up. The math doesn't make sense. So it's not a question of inflation. The pet food is dead, dying, defective. There's their fourth category, and they all start with the letter D, as the veterinarian says. The pet food you're buying in grocery stores, it's like the bottom of the barrel, folks. The lowest in quality. How that? Yes, there's a lot of grain in it, but you're telling me that that food, which is like almost cardboard scrap, it's so. When we talk about food quality, like it's the lowest of the low. It went up 103%. You got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. So, and if you notice, if you look closely at a lot of our food products, and this has been happening for decades, shrinkflation is spinning out of control. I remember buying some little chocolate bars recently, and there were 9 in the package instead of 10. And there was a lot of fluff at the end of those individually wrapped things. I'm on a diet, so I like to buy smaller amounts of chocolate. I mean, they even seem to design the wrappers differently, and then the way the form the packaging was done, like if you look at it horizontally, or if you were to look at it like at the front of the packaging, nowhere do you see the weight or the amounts. 9 bars times how many grams equals whatever. You actually have to flip it on its side, and when you do, the side of the package is angled diagonally so that you really have to squint to see the numbers. They're making it almost invisible. They're practically hiding the fact. Who is this? A giant multinational corporation. They can take a temporary hit and absorb, but no, none of these billionaire companies want to help us out in any way. Ask yourself why. As an Aboriginal saying goes, as the First Nations people have said, when all the fish is gone and all the trees are gone, only then will you see that you cannot eat money. So what is the need to price everything so ridiculously out of reach of even the middle class? Tell me how the middle class in Canada, that's bus drivers, nurses, school teachers, they don't buy organic meat. Oh, well, yeah, some do, that were like diagnosed with cancer, or they're well read, or they chose to make sacrifices such as they don't go on a vacation at all. As you see, I'm not wearing any makeup. I challenge everyone listening to this, everyone, because it's not just women wearing makeup nowadays. I challenge everyone watching this to see about reducing unnecessary purchases. Makeup, hair dye, going to the hair salon, getting your hair trimmed. You can trim your hair at home. I really challenge people. And not from a place of scarcity and deprivation and suffering and hardship, but of a place of joyous surrender of things that I no longer need. And if you look at my channel, you'll see how I have a video where I sing. It's like where I chant about letting go of everything we no longer need, because we don't need it, but we need to eat. And I'm actually going to do a separate video. I'm going to do some affirmations and maybe even learn how to make some subliminal videos so that I can help people release their addiction to makeup, because that's what it is. Now, there's going to be some people that say, but, I have a birth defect on my face, or, I have like bags under my eyes, or, what my message is? I wish for you, I pray for you to be able to get more sleep. And about the birthmark or the interesting whatever, whether it's freckles or acne scars or things like that, embrace it. Embrace it. That's right. Just embrace it. You're beautiful the way you are. You know what's going to be beautiful? Is that you're feeding another human being. You're helping another soul, another sister, brother, sibling on this planet eat a nutritious, culturally appropriate, preferably local meal. You can be the solution to somebody else's food insecurity by letting go of things that no longer serve you, that never served you in the first place. I said I was going to be outside the box and think creatively. I said I was going to do things differently. Yes. I want to challenge this idea of this keeping up with the Joneses. And, I was born in the 70s. I watched a YouTube video about shag carpet. These people had spaghetti. I mean, it was like an inch and a half long, the carpet fibers. They had to buy a rake to rake the shag carpet so that all the little fibers would go the same way and the carpet would look prettier. Saying, why is she talking about this in a video about food security? Does that not seem kind of over the top, luxurious, completely unnecessary? How are you going to vacuum this carpet? How are you going to shampoo it? You're going to have to buy fans and put the fans every 6 feet to dry it? Like, I don't even understand such opulence. It's silly. And my husband comes from a developing country, India, and he was so fascinated and enthralled by carpet. I'm asking us, what are the things that we no longer need? And that we could let go of the need to have the nightstand tables by the bed with the ornate bed frame with the big fancy lamp and all the cosmetics and the costume jewelry. And like, why is this woman talking about all this in a video about food security? It is going to be a little hard for some people to understand the time of fat cows is over. I didn't say it was over. I didn't want it to be over. We're in the time of lean cows. Not the fat cow time, the lean cow time, like they would say in days gone by. So it's time to take the belt in a notch. You know where that expression comes in? Tighten the belt. Yes. Isn't it ironic that the foods that cost less are more fattening and what we experts call obesogenic foods, foods that create obesity? So if you see some fat people, some overweight people, some plump people, pick the word that you like. I know FAT offends people. I think it's a little bit harsh too, but you know what I mean. Overweight people. Maybe you could offer to take them out for a salad. Maybe you could offer to buy them. Maybe not that way, but that might be a bit condescending. But say, hey, how's life? Oh, cost of food is high, eh? Oh, well, I had some extra food at my place, and I was wondering, would you like some? And, yeah. It's fascinating how the foods that, like buying a sandwich, $5, $6, $7 here in Canada. You want to have a donut? It used to be 70 cents. Now donuts are $2, but still, I remember when I would go and buy 2 donuts because I couldn't afford a sandwich. But the donuts, it's flour, it's inflammatory, it's sugar, it's greasy, it's fried. It's not the best for you, but that's a food insecurity. If someone is subsisting on poor quality food, even though they are getting a maximum daily amount of calories, that's food insecurity. If you're living on chips or pretzels at Dollarama or, crackers because bread is too costly, that's food insecurity. If you want to bake your own bread or make your own pancakes from scratch or your own muffins from scratch, but your kitchen is so ridiculously, I'm going to be using ridiculously a lot, other euphemism for swear words, because I'm not going to swear. No, I'm going to try to. If your kitchen is so small that you don't have any counter space and you cannot prepare food from scratch, that's food insecurity. I know people will say, well, you could set up a card table in your living room. I have carpet in my living room. Oh, you could put a plastic shower curtain under the card table. The legs in the card table will make holes in that carpet, and there still will be some food crumbs seeping through. And we don't want to have grain weevils and even, worse bug problems here. If you do not have enough cupboard space in your kitchen, you could be experiencing, I see these videos and say you could be, I'm not going to say you are experiencing food insecurity. Let's face it, if you're renting and you have a galley kitchen, which is like, I don't know, just, you, you know what I mean? Like a very narrow kitchen, that's going to contribute to food insecurity. If you have a fridge that you have to bend down when you put food in it, that's food insecurity. By the way, I'm all for supporting smaller fridges, but the smaller fridges can be better designed so that you're not like literally having to like feel like you're like burrowing down. I mean, that's just ridiculous. If you don't have the money to afford quality, safe, healthy cookware, Tefal doesn't count. Aluminum doesn't count. Copper, be careful. If you don't have that, you're experiencing food insecurity. If you live in a place where you rent and you cannot renovate the kitchen to suit your needs if you are too short or needing to use a mobility device such as a wheelchair or walker, you are experiencing food insecurity. Oh, yes. If you have any type of disability, including all kinds of invisible ones, including mental health issues, and if you are living alone, you're isolated, and you are marginalized in any way, it's going to be even that much harder for you to go out and get food. Yes. If you do not have time in the day to prepare soups and stews from scratch, you are experiencing, in my opinion, barriers to food preparation. Maybe it's not so much food insecurity in that sense. Now you may say, now how does a smaller kitchen prevent a person from having enough food? Well, where are they gonna store the food? Not everybody has a basement. Not we're lucky we have a storage locker here. Not everybody has one. So where are you going to store the food? In your bedroom? You're going to have boxes of crap. I am storing food in my bedroom. That's right. I've decided to give some of my clothes away to charity so that I have some shelves in my closet, and that's where I store my backup food. The food that's not opened yet. Mm-hmm. I suggest doing this. So there are many and you see, like I'm just trying to go bullet point and get right into it. Keep the jargon out, keep the abstract theory out. There's some nice YouTube channels I could recommend to you. Like there's Food Secure Canada. I think that's what they're called. I will put the links later in the description after when I convert this to a video. It's been 39 minutes that I'm live here. I want to give a message of hope now. I want to suggest that if you are spiritual in any way, to try praying or meditating or whatever else makes you feel comfortable just before you go grocery shopping. To pray and to affirm that the food is affordable, the workers and farmers and truckers were well treated. Yes, I'm going to suggest to you to carry crystals that attract prosperity to you. Pyrite, which is fool's gold. Citrine, which is really orange amethyst. Yes. I'm going to suggest to you to maybe do some Reiki on you so that you lift up your vibration. I'm going to suggest to you that you go shopping with a friend for support so that you can feel that you can stock up on stuff and that you have help to carry it. I'm going to suggest getting a wagon so that you can transport stuff, because those little grocery cart on the little wheels here in Canada, they're very flimsy and they break after 3 months, and it's not good for the environment. It's just a waste of $30. You're better off investing 150 and getting a wagon. You can get it maybe as a birthday gift or Christmas gift, or you know another holiday gift if you don't celebrate Christmas. See, because food security affects all of us. Food security affects the rich, because then the rich are dealing with stressed out middle class, working class, and lumpen proletariat people. That's right. So, back to what we can do before we go grocery shopping to end on a positive note, because I'm solution oriented. The time has come for action. We need to take action because our politicians don't seem to be listening in Canada. I had a good conversation with a provincial NDP politician, and I was very impressed to hear how seriously she is taking food security. And I'm thinking of inviting her to speak on a panel at another conference on food security. So I am solution oriented, and I welcome comments in the chat. I'm going to keep doing lives like this. I know I don't have a lot of subscribers yet, and probably it's bold and daring, a little, forward of me. Maybe it's asking too much to do lives, but I'm going to do them so that you know that I have done lives in the past. Okay? And I do lives on various subjects. I'm doing lives on helping Anglophones such as myself learn French more easily and effectively and effortlessly, because it can happen. I also want to say a word for Boreal, Collège Boreal, which is a Francophone college in Ontario. And finally, now in Ontario, we have a Francophone university. And, so as a message of hope, we can gently and lovingly talk to our grocery store staff and managers in a civil, humane, compassionate way, and we can ask as briefly as possible to save their time what is on special, where the deals are, how we can help them negotiate better prices with suppliers. That's right. We can contact these suppliers and say to Silk, no, I think that you're $5.49 for 890 milliliters. These boxes used to be close to 946 milliliters not too long ago. We can start to speak up about shrinkflation, about incorrect packaging, about how the product appears larger than. I'd like to see that scrapped. I studied marketing in business college. I'd like to put the kibosh, pull the plug, stop already, stop. Put the product, the size, what it is, and even put the inches, literally like put a ruler under it and say, it is actually this size when you open the box. Now, we need to have transparent labeling. That'll be another topic for another live. But I just want to introduce this series of live videos, and some will be pre-recorded, on food prices, food security, food justice, and that we're going to do a lot more than just plant a couple seeds and do a little bit more gardening. What about the foods that have to be imported? It's not enough to just say, we're just going to grow some lettuce and poof, that will just like magic wand fix this problem. It's not going to fix this problem. I'm not a fan of lettuce. I use spinach in my salads. It's much easier. So to end on a positive note, if you're not someone who fasts yet, I highly recommend fasting. It helps spiritual people. It helps people from all walks of life. And, maybe incorporate Monday soup and sandwich day, Monday meatless day, or Monday, I'm just going to take a break from eating and let my body rest. Or do it on a Sunday if you work on Monday, and looking at situations that are creative and outside the box, that are not already being discussed on YouTube and TikTok and elsewhere. And I'm hoping to be interviewed as well as to interview people from my upcoming book, which will be about food security. Yes, I'm going to be able to put this ideas in print because I tend to ramble when I'm live. Please forgive me. And I'm really looking forward to advancing some serious solutions where people all around the world can start to leverage our personal power and gently but respectfully advocate and say, enough is enough. Food is an inalienable right, according to the United Nations. Food is not a commodity. That lettuce, those acorns, you can grind acorn into flour, eh? People that are gluten-free. Mm-hmm. Those dandelions growing there, we can learn to forage. That food didn't say, sell me, make me your best offer. Oh, make me scarce so you can drive up the price. That's greed. That's greed that did that. There's good news, folks. France and Italy have made it illegal to throw out food. So that means all restaurants, all cafeterias, all institutions must either give away the food to charity or give it so that animals can eat it, or compost it and put it back into the soil. But I'm really preferring the first two. The third would be for food that really truly is no longer edible. Yeah, big shocker, people, because I studied business English in business college, and they said big idea first, but they also said when you close with an important statement. You need to know that the current system that we're in thrives on the destruction of food. That's correct. It is necessary for our current economic system to destroy food to keep the prices unnaturally high. That's right. Just, really, really try to understand that there is a war going on, preventing people from accessing food, and it is intentional, it is deliberate, it is on purpose. And it is, I will get more into that topic the next time in the next live. Coming back to ending on a positive note, I want to be one more video that engages in a thought-provoking, soul-searching, eye-opening discussion, so that we can see that there's a lot more to this discussion than inflation went up, so therefore food has to go up. As a left-wing prominent economist stated, Professor Wolf, I forget his first name, it is not inflation that goes up and then prices go up. That's not true. Prices going up is the marker we call inflation. So we're clear now? And to artificially inflate the prices of food because the current economies in the West can no longer derive their profit from electronics or cars or entertainment or other commodities is not appropriate. It is dehumanizing. I'd go so far as to say it's a soul sickness. Preventing people from eating is beyond cruel. It's beyond criminal. It is downright evil, and it must be stopped. May everyone be fed, as Buddha would say. May everyone be fed. May everyone be fed. Make this our closing statement. I wish you all peace and see you in the next live.